trusty old goats that eat the trash. And so our driver here on the left, we're here at Nueva.
So can people go out there like you did as on some kind of tour, or is this just something, an anomaly that you did and happened to find a driver who was willing to do it?
Well, I don't know of any tours going there, you know, formal tours, but it's mainly individuals that are going. We had to go through like 6 checkpoints to get to the spot.
So you've got to be dedicated. You've got to have a reason for going out there.
Yes, and there's so much military there on the way to the Nueva, it can turn off a lot of visitors, tourists, I think. And that's what one of the hotel owners said. So here, our guide was giving us some tea, and then we headed out from here. We were going to head over to the pillar that marks the spot there at Nueva. And you can see the poor area of town, the Bedouins living.
Now this is the pillar that has been eroded over time, not the ones that the Saudis found on the other side, which is pretty much intact.
Right, this will be the Egyptian pillar we're heading toward. And yeah, it was found lying in the water. Here we can see it in the distance next to the road in the center of the video.
Oh, there it is erected there, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Ron Wyatt showed it to the authorities in 1978. The Israelis were occupying the Sinai Peninsula. He showed it to them. They brought it back from the water's edge and set it up in concrete, which was very nice. So today you can go there and stand beside this pillar.
And that's all thanks to Ron Wyatt.
Yeah,
essentially.
And Solomon, who erected it to start with.
Of course, yeah.
So, you know, the matching column on the Saudi Arabian side had Hebrew writing on it still when Ron found it in 1984 that said Solomon, Pharaoh, Yahweh, death, Mizraim, which means Egypt, water, Edom. So this was a marker marking the Red Sea crossing spot.
And someone has made their own markings on it,
yes, apparently. Unfortunately, but modern graffiti. But Solomon's seaport, Elath, was 50 miles to the north there at modern-day Eilat. And so Solomon, this was his area. This was his neighborhood. And so 400 years after the fact, he had these columns erected to mark the spot of the Red Sea crossing. He knew full well where this event took place.
So that must have been passed down from family to family.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
So it's a 16-foot red granite Phoenician-style column. Beautiful.
And there's obviously no writing on there. That's all been washed off now.
The back side of it has been eroded away. It doesn't look this nice, and that's where probably some writing was.
But that's a solid piece of granite. That's not like the Sodom and Gomorrah limestone that we saw. This is this
is very solid red granite. It's very beautiful. So from here, we can get a look at where this is in relation to the water. It's set back. The water's a couple hundred yards away.
And this is the beach here, essentially.
Yeah, this is the crossing area right here where the water actually opened up.
Wow.
Yes. It's amazing to stand here.
Now, is there a definite place on the other side that we can match up as to where from the beach?
The column that was cut down in Saudi Arabia, the base of it is still there.
Oh, okay.
So if you line these up, it's 13 miles across the water. Yes. So we're traveling through the local Bedouin village here. But up to the north, before we head down to the crossing site, up to the north is Migdal, or fortress, that is at the narrowest point where the water and mountains come together, is this fortress. I imagine it was designed to limit the travelers going up and down through the beach there, heading north or south. And so this was some type of Egyptian fortress designed to control movement through the area. And inside the fort here, they had a nice well dug that would serve the soldiers here in the nice fort. And so some of the locals were following us in here, and they were showing us this well that the soldiers would have used.
And some kids sitting precariously on the edge.
Yeah, I'm afraid they might fall in there. And so we can look down and we can see a little bit of the water. And so that would have served them. So this was probably Migdal, And now we're getting ready to head back south to the actual crossing site. And here you can see the beach where the waters opened up. We're standing at the exact spot.
Wow.
Yes, and the mountains of Saudi Arabia in the distance.
Did your knees get weak sitting there? Was it an awesome thing to
It was
behold?
quite incredible, yes, to be there. And so in the foreground, right in front of us here, is a melted beach where the sand and the stones were literally melted together like concrete.
Really?
This is not loose sand. This is a melted beach which the pillar of fire created when it stood here. So
separating the Egyptian army from
Yeah.
the fleeing Israelites.
yeah. So again, this is more evidence, that confirms the location
My
here.
goodness. Now, how did you find out about that?
I had heard about it, and then I saw it myself. So here it is. You see, this rock is just infused in with the sand and the little rocks there, and this is all hardened. This is like concrete.
That is amazing.
Jason here is stepping on it. It's very solid. This is a different area.
How did the locals explain this?
I asked the hotel owner was here with us that we know, and he says, I've never seen this before. He said his hotel's in a different area, but he was amazed at what he saw. So
Well, there's the evidence right there. It's
yeah,
solid.
right. And so a piece of it was broken off for us to look at, and you can see up close here all the little rocks and the sand. They're melted together, infused
Wow.
by the pillar of fire. And this goes on for some ways. This isn't just one little spot. And so Ron Wyatt went scuba diving out there, and various things have been found in the water. You can see human femur bone that is coral encrusted, which would be something you would expect. And on the left here, we see a normal one. On the right, you see the coral encrusted femur from one of the soldiers. On the top left, you see a human rib cage stuck in the coral.
Now, what about people who say, "Oh, this is table coral"? It's just
It's not, because it has metal in it. And so here's a horse's hoof that's shriveled up when they took it out of the water. It's shriveled up. So again, we have horse parts, human parts.
What are we seeing here? What is this coral?
And so this is coral standing on an axle, and it has a raised center hub with spokes going outwards. Here's another round chariot with a raised center hub and then spokes going out, and it's got a round shape to it. Again, it's covered in coral.
Do some people say that these are just modern shipwrecks?
Some people have said that, but again, this agrees totally with the design of the chariot wheels. With the raised center hub and using metal detectors, there is metal in the center. There are spokes going out. This is a 4-spoke wheel with 3 spokes left. 4-spoke wheels, 6-spoke wheels, and 8-spoke wheels are found here. Of course, using the metal detector, like he's demonstrating here, all of the hubs here contain metal, and that is the design of the Egyptian chariot wheel with the metal center hub. Now here is a gold-plated wheel. There were 600 choice chariots used in the Exodus, we're told, so you would expect to find 1,200 chariot wheels here with gold, and this one is special. It's gold-plated, and 2 or 3 of these were found by Mr. Wyatt. Now we see a more shallow area where the Red Sea crossing took place. It's shallower here compared to the north and compared to the south. It's still deep. It has to be a deep area. It's 2,800 feet deep, but that gives you a 4% grade, which is manageable. Over in Saudi Arabia, you see the remains of the pillar that was found there on the Saudi Arabian side. It was cut down by the Saudi authorities. It had Hebrew writing on it. We don't know where it is. But there in the Saudi waters, Viveka Ponton went scuba diving, and she found this beautiful chariot wheel in the Saudi Arabian waters. So you have chariot parts on the Egyptian side, chariot parts on the Saudi Arabian side.
But it's not the crossing site. It couldn't be.
That's what the critics would say. But the evidence is here. It's real. So we rented a boat and went out with a Rove, a remote operated vehicle. Had a 100-foot tether, and so we were going to do some little inspecting ourselves.
This is a submarine camera.
Yes, for a few hours. And we didn't have days and weeks to do this. We had a few hours. We rented the nice boat here to take off. We headed down toward the south end of the beach. We're headed toward that area, and you can see the waters extending over to Saudi Arabia in the distance. And
so were you stopped by the Saudi authorities like Leonard Mueller was?
Sometimes they do, yeah. If they suspect you, they'll come over and see what you're up to. But so now we're in the approximate area, and we're gonna throw the drone into the water.
So you closest to which land is that there?
We're close to Egypt
close
here,
to Egypt.
Saudi,
Right.
excuse me, Sinai
Okay.
Peninsula. So we're getting it ready for another launching here. So here's the camera. It's got 3 propellers, and it's giving us a live feed back up into the boat. And so that day we were able to see something that looked round, but we couldn't confirm that it was a chariot wheel. So here we're launching it. And then here's an instant replay on board the Rove. The Rove's videoing this, and so we're down in the water.
So where you are is not that deep where you are right here.
Right,
Close to the
it's
land.
not that deep, yes. And so you can see some coral parts here.
But again, coral doesn't grow on sand.
That's
there has
true.
to be
It has
something for it to
attach
grow on.
something, yes.
So obviously there has to be something down there.
Yes.
But this area is very remote. I wouldn't imagine that it's, pieces from from modern humans, because why would they be there? There's nothing there.
Yes. So some of these objects here may be from the Pharaoh's armory. We can't tell for sure.
This is fascinating. So we have the video from the Red Sea crossing. Thank you for showing us your trip down there. After the break, we are going to come back and talk about Mt.Sinai, what's on the other side of the Red Sea crossing. So we look forward to that. Now, we're with Kevin Fisher from Ark Discovery International, and we meant to get into something before the break, and that was Kadesh Barnea. We're going to talk a little bit about that and then get into Mt.Sinai. But tell us about Kadesh Barnea.
This is the second location where Moses struck the rock.
Okay, hold on. Wait a minute.
Yes.
Second location.
Yes.
What's that about?
Well, the first location was at Mt.Sinai.
Okay.
He was told to strike the rock, which he did. It split, the water came out. Well, they moved over to the Kadesh Barnea area, and he was told to speak to the rock. But instead, out of basically anger, he struck the rock, and the water came out. And so there's an area about 30 miles southwest of the Dead Sea that Mr. Wyatt found that he believes is the Kadesh Barnea site, where you can see a large amount of water erosion coming down the base of the mountain right there. So to get to the site, you have to drive out in the desert there, drive down some rocky roads. And in this first image here, we're getting out of our rental vehicle, or Avis. I'm sorry, Avis. But going down these little rough roads, and we finally got to a stop. We couldn't go any further. And so you walk about 2 miles through the desert to get to this mountainous area.
Okay.
In the distance is the area we'll be taking a look at, but you can see it's rather flat out here. This would have been kind of the area where the children of Israel would have camped. Plenty of level area here. And then this is a site where the water erosion is. You can see someone standing here. To the right of this individual is the site we'll be taking a look at where there's the most water erosion. But this is the site where Moses struck the rock. Now, in the next slide here, we can see a large amount of erosion coming down the mountain. It's eroded away.
Okay.
This rock, I mean, these are large cutouts in the rock caused by a lot of water. This isn't a trickle of water, but a real gully washer coming down here constantly, eroding away the rock into channels. There's actually large channels here as deep as 6 feet going down. And in the distance here in the left, where the individuals next to the stone, that is a baffle rock stone, they call it, where it was approximately 6 feet deep there, the channel that was being cut out, and the children of Israel stuck this rock down in the channel to force the water out, to spread out the water, basically.
Okay. Like a dam, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here you can see the eroded areas.
Still some pools there?
Yeah, these are deep. Apparently there had been a light recent rain here in this particular case when we were there. And again, you can see more of the eroded areas of the rock, more evidence of a large amount of water creating these deep channels